Hey, good morning. Welcome to Hobby Evolution, episode 1214, Sunday, June 23rd. Man, the days are going to get shorter from here on out. Isn't that? It always surprises me. It shouldn't surprise me, but it always surprises me. It's like just the beginning of summer and our days are getting shorter. It's like the days are the longest in June. And I guess in early July. But it's always nice because you can tell it's like, okay, if it was this light out for the entire month of June, for most of the month of July, we're going to see the same amount of daylight. But it does get shorter. Good morning. Summer is upon us officially. We had some summer storms last night. Got home from the card show. We'll talk about the Madison Card Show. Next show, Saturday, July 20th. Right before the National, Saturday before the National, which is always a really big show. A lot of buying going on a week before the National. People want to get them cards to take to Cleveland. So July 20th, mark it down. Saturday, July 20th, Sheraton Hotel, John Nolen Drive. Third ballroom will be opened up. I'm going to talk about that. I had some interesting conversations. And just from my own personal experience regarding expansion at the Madison Card Show. So next month, July 20th, 175 dealer tables and 3 ballrooms open. So I got home from the show yesterday, and I think part of the reason it was such a great show was it was like raining off and on all day. So a lot of stuff got canceled. Ton of kids. I also had one of the dealers' wives. We were chit-chatting, and she's like, there are so many women here today, which is good. I think Max stay at 2. So, yeah. So dealers want 2 rooms. Everybody else wants 3 rooms, myself included, not because I want a bigger show or more money. It's actually more work when I have that third room open, and I've considered I don't want 3 rooms. So I will. So Max is clamoring for 2 rooms. If I stayed at 2 rooms, Max, you would have to move tables because which is good for Max, bad for the rest of the show because it was congested. I would have to walk all the way around because his area was so congested with people, which is great. I like to see that, but at the same time, I can't have that blocking aisles. I mean, at one point there was a dude with a baby carriage, stroller, whatever the hell you call them. So if I did stay at 2 rooms and if I go back to 2 rooms, Max has to move because I can't have aisles being blocked by people. So it'll be 3 rooms for sure the next couple months, and probably moving forward as long as demand is there. So we get home, and so it rained off and on throughout the day. We were supposed to get some storms. We didn't really have any really bad storms throughout the day, but they hit last night. Hopefully Bronco made it home safe. I was worried about Bronco driving north. And I'm watching the news coverage of the severe weather. We had tornado warnings. The sirens were going off. We were getting ready. To go to dinner last night. And all of a sudden, I'm on my phone, scrolling. And I'm like, woo, scared the shit out of me. And Max says, don't put tables at the serving window. So that's 2 tables, so $200. So Max can stay, but your tables are $200 to make up for the lost revenue from those 2 tables. So if I go back to 2 rooms, you can stay. I'll remove those tables, and you have to pay $200 for your space. And then the sirens go off. I'm like, what the hell is going on? Because it didn't look like I looked out the window. It's it's just overcast. Well, this Doesn't look like tornado weather. Of course, the conditions were like perfect for tornadoes. So my mother-in-law called my wife, and she's like, or maybe my wife called my mother-in-law and my wife were on the phone. And so I turned the news on and I'm like, we're under there's a tornado warning for our county. And I could hear my mother-in-law's friend talking about, no, it's just conditions are favorable for tornado. I'm like, no, that's a watch. This is a warning. Now, I think they've really been, and this is probably safety first type of deal. Like if there's rotation in the clouds, they have to issue a warning. Because like up until recently, I don't remember tornadoes being issued unless like funnel clouds were sighted or there's an actual tornado on the ground. Now it's like there's rotation. We've had multiple tornado warnings this summer. I don't remember this being a thing last year. I think this is something new with the National Weather Service. So now they're issuing this is something that's recent, and it's probably a safety issue, which is cool, but you know, I think it also leads to panic as well. So and I don't like, it was just alerted, so I'm not sure, like, is there a tornado on the ground? Like, I haven't heard that part. Like, if there's a tornado on the ground, we're not going to dinner. We're not going out. There's a tornado on the ground heading this direction, which wasn't the case. It was just rotation. But we did cancel our dinner reservations, and I had leftovers, which was okay. And we didn't get too bad. It rained pretty hard for a little bit. It wasn't windy like the last time where it's just a little wind, and we had like trees uprooted down the street. It wasn't that bad. So, but I think I saw somewhere in the area, was it the north side, like up by DeForest? I think they had tornado touchdown. And then south of us also, I think Argyle, like a church was like blown over. So Zach says you are accurate. TWs, I don't know if he means watch or warning, were only issued if a tornado had touched down in the broadcast area of your station. We'd flip wall-to-wall coverage by law. And yeah, that's what, when I was working in radio, it was, we would do wall-to-wall coverage during a tornado warning on the radio. Severe thunderstorm warning, we would go in to the station. We had to rotate. Oh, that was such a pain in the ass. It's like, it's my turn. Oh, I don't want to go in. In fact, one of my friends, Joe, who's latched on into radio down in St. Louis, he got fired. We had our fantasy football draft. We were at a bar in Galesburg. What was that bar? It was like my favorite bar in Gale is sports bar in Gale. Although it wasn't really a sports bar. I think they just wanted to be a sports bar. But anyway, we were there and having our fantasy football draft. The studio was, our radio studio was only like 2 blocks away. And it was towards the end of our draft anyway. And Joe gets the call from our boss, like, hey, there's severe weather. Like, she was like glued. Like she freaking knew. She had a sixth sense about weather. And Joe's like, I'm not going. He like takes a drink of beer. He's like, he looks right at me. He's like, I'm not going in. I'm like, dude. And I was his superior. He worked under me in the sports department. I'm like, dude, you have to go in. And he's like, nah, I'm not going in. Okay. I'm like, you're going to suffer the consequences because I don't have your back. Like, we're friends, but this is not, like, our friendship ends at the doorstep or when it comes to work stuff. So I'm like, I don't have your back. Like, I can't defend you in this. And so of course he gets called into the office, and he was already like, he'd already been warned like twice. So it was like, this was like basically his third strike. And I told him, I'm like, dude, I am not going to protect you. I'm not going to defend you in this. You have to go in. And he didn't. And so Monday comes around because it was a weekend. It was Saturday or Sunday. And so the Monday comes around, and of course I have a meeting with the boss, and I'm like, here's the story, and not throwing him under the bus. I'm just telling you what happened. Not throwing him under the bus, just telling you what happened. Told him I wasn't going to defend him. It was a third strike, and when it comes to the office, like, it's business, man. Like, this is your third strike. You're done. Like, I'm not going to defend you. We're friends, but I can't defend you. Don't be a shithead. And he was a shithead. And so one of our other, he was in charge of the news department, and he's like, oh, I think he was our operations guy also. And he's like, I don't think we should let him go. Which I think he didn't want to let him go because it meant more work for him. So I'm like, no, I don't agree with that. We warned him, like, if we don't do this, it's just going to keep happening. It's like tough shit. So ultimately, I think my boss brought in, because she didn't want to have like the final vote. Come on. So we brought in like the sales manager. He's like, yeah, he's got to go. We got fired. I told him, I called him, like, Joe, dude, I told you I couldn't defend you. And he understood. Thing is, he already had a job lined up in St. Louis. Fucker. Didn't tell me. Guess I don't blame him. It's all good. Which is cool. Like, I was up front. He was up front. We didn't, there was no ill will, no bad feelings whatsoever. He's had me on his radio show a few times, and it's been like 15 years. This would have been probably 08, 09. Yeah, somewhere around there. 08, 09. Zach says, blonde tips, Bo, was a bigger hard ass than mushroom coffee. I was probably all that shit seeped into my noggin. So tornado warning last night. Some leftovers. Great Madison Card Show. Next one, as I said, Saturday, July 20th, we'll have 3 ballrooms open, 175 tables, free admission, 9 to 3, Sheraton Hotel, John Nolen Drive. Programming note also, I will go live tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. Then I'll be heading down to, actually, we've got a follow-up with the vet in the morning. And then I'll hammer down some shipping. And then I'll be gone for 2 days down for the Club 400 1984 Cubs reunion. So I'm leaving around lunchtime tomorrow. Doing some volunteering for setup tomorrow afternoon at Club 400. And then we've got the party on Tuesday night. Going to be a lot of fun. Hopefully Sandberg can show up. Tonight is or later today is the statue unveiling, the Sandberg statue at Wrigley Field. Game tonight, Cubs and Mets. Cubs turned it around yesterday. Jamison Tyone looked great on the mound. So of course, Sandberg's has undergoing cancer treatments. I think he's kind of beat this round, got more energy and all that, but still not sure if he's been like on this tour, this media tour. And so I don't know if he'll have the energy by game time. I think it's a game day decision for him if he's going to be at the reunion on Tuesday night. So looking forward to that. So no Hobby Evolution shows on Tuesday morning, nor will we go live on Wednesday morning. Back at it Thursday morning, Friday morning, Saturday morning, and then it's off for 2 weeks. No Hobby Evolution for about 2 weeks. Let me get my calendar out. So the last Hobby Evolution until I get back, it will be next Sunday. So a week from today. So there will not be a Hobby Evolution starting Monday, July 1st. And then probably won't go live until Monday, July 15th. I think we get back on Saturday at some point, probably Saturday night, July 13th. But coming back from Europe, driving from Chicago, I will probably not want to go live on Sunday. So we'll just call it July 15th. So July 1st through July 14th, and then returning for Hobby Evolution on Monday, July 15th. And then that week rolls into the Madison Card Show. So that's going to be a hectic week. And then not going to Cleveland. That's why all of this travel here. So that's my schedule. I will not be set up at another card show until August 11th. That's Sunday, August 11th in Janesville, and I should have plenty of stuff to replenish. Certainly the dollar boxes, and we'll see if I'm going to start quarter boxes again in August. It's probably not. I'm probably just going to roll out what I have left of dime boxes and just try to move that stuff out. I've been selling the medium flat rates pretty well. I'm making I think I've got 3 or 4 that I'm still in the process of getting made up. I know Tracy put an order in for one, so yours will be out tomorrow. So I've got it almost complete. So that's kind of the program schedule for the next month. Let's go into the chat. We'll talk Madison Card Show. I'm up and at 'em early this morning. I was up at 4:30 yesterday. And here's the funny thing about the Madison Card Show. What I've noticed over the last 3 years is the summer months, early birds, more so on the dealer side. The dealers are just like, one of my dealers, John, may have broken a dealer record by getting there. I think it was 6:02 when I saw him pull up. I had not even finished, and I was a few minutes later than normal, than what's been normal the last few months, because I didn't have that third room, which again adds a lot of work on my plate. So I was getting my second load in as John pulled up, and he's like, "Are you late?" And I'm like, "No, you're really early. It's 6:02." Which I don't care. Like by that time, I think I don't even think I had the lights on yet, which usually I do by 6. So I was probably, what was I running behind? Like behind my normal schedule. I wasn't running behind, but normally 10, 15 minutes maybe. One of my other early guys, he's usually there at like 6:30. Jim and Troy, like clockwork, 6:30 on the dot, like every month. And they usually come in at the same time. Actually, John's usually around the same time with them. Usually those 3 are my first guys. And then it's not till like 7 when some of the other guys start showing up. So I noticed that like in the summer months, because it's like, it's like 5:30. I'm on the way and it's light out, and probably have 1 month, 2 months. I think August, I'll probably still have some light in August. But then by September, it's going to be dark, and not until May will it be light again that early in the morning. And then in the winter months, it's a slow arriving crowd because it's dark. And I think people are just like, it's dark. I don't want to wake up, but it's early. So I was up at 4:30, but just took my time. And I was tired all day. Even the mushroom coffee didn't even wake me up. And so I hit the couch and I listed a few cards I picked up, and I'll talk about what I bought yesterday. I picked up a few cards, didn't spend much. I think I spent $50 total, which was kind of by design. And told my wife, I'm like, I don't think I'm going to make it to 9 o'clock. And I didn't. I think I fell asleep on the couch at 8:20. And got up, and I just kind of napped on the couch for an hour, and it was 9:20. And I'm like, okay, now at 8:20, I'm not going to bed, but at 9:20, okay, I'll go to bed. And so this morning I was up at 5:30, because normally I don't come on here on a Sunday till 8:30 or 9. But I did some shipping this morning, started putting a bulk box together, and Gave Biscuit her medication, took her to go potty, made my mushroom coffee. We're off to an early start for a Sunday. But I'm going to be gone for 2 days this week, so. And then turn around and hurry up and get more shit shipped out before our trip. So it's a busy, busy time. Jason's here. What's up? Good morning. He says hit the like button. Thank you, sir. Subscribe to the channel. Visit my eBay store, which we're going to scroll it there, 99centcards.com. Kyle is in the house. Good, happy Sunday morning to you. Talking Tatis, what's up? Hood morning. It's a hoodie Sunday. Orlando is here. What's going on? Christian's in the house. Good morning. Art Green, good morning. Mikey's here. Unfortunately, he is not doing so well. Hurt his ankle this week, so well wishes to Mikey in your recovery and a rough night of sleep. That sucks, man. Get better. Max says 10 minutes to Appleton, so I'll be leaving shortly. Card show for Max, day 2. Zach and Porter in the house. Good morning. James says, I say it a lot, but the Pokemon nerds bring the kids. Kids bring the hot moms. There you go. Mark Marinello, good morning. Yeah, Cubs win. Mets reverted back to the Mets yesterday. Uncle Rich said there was a 75 Felix. Is it Milan? And guess the player. Yes. Do I have it? So yeah, just for you on Friday morning. Where did Felix go? I think I led off with Felix. Where did Felix go? There's Pete. I have all of them here except there's Cardinal. Huh. Yeah, I did. Now I don't know where he went. Huh. We did. Herman, good morning. Brian's in the house. Good morning, Brian. Had a garage sale this weekend. How did it go? Max says, I ain't moving. Mark, then we're going 3 rooms. Mark, good morning. Brian says, on day 3 of the neighborhood rummage sale, sold 26 packs of cards so far. Been a huge success. Would be great to get to 30. How about that? Where's John Keating? Take that. John wanted to beat you. He wanted to beat you for selling packs of cards at a rummage sale. Suck it, John. Zach says, this doesn't sound like tornado weather, says the guy who's never lost power. I have lost power, just not here in Madison. Growing up in Anawan, oh my God, because they had overhead power lines in the small town near, we lose power a lot, but not here. Underground, we got underground. So we don't lose that power. Mark says northern New Jersey got almost 2 inches of rain in 45 minutes. Holy shit. That's a lot of rain in a little bit of time. Zach says warning. Jonathan, good morning. Zach says making up those ads was a pain in the rear part of your body. Good morning. Florida baseball card dude in the house. Zach says, this is why I tried to live within a mile or walking distance from stations. I drew through some crazy stuff prior to my rule. Yeah, so when I first started in radio, well, the first job in radio I had, I was 20 to 25 minutes away. I was still in college, so I wasn't doing severe weather. But then when that was my first radio job. And even though it was a real radio job, I was also like 19, 20, my first, what I would call my real radio job in Macomb. I never lived far. I mean, it's Macomb, so I'm not living, although my first radio station was Galva, but I lived in Anawan. A lot of cornfields separated the 2 towns. In Macomb I did, but then when we sold the Macomb station, I stayed with the company and worked out of the Monmouth office. So then when we had like blizzards, we had like a trade out deal. Radio stations love the trade outs. We had a trade out with one of the small hotels. So it's like, if there's going to be a foot of snow, I'm going to be staying at the hotel. And there was a couple times I slept in my office. One of the times I slept in my office just because it was sports stuff and I did it by choice. some of the Galesburg had started midnight, midnight madness was a big thing. So like even like the basketball teams would do it in the winter. Cross country there was a couple like fall sports. I don't know if volleyball did it. Cross country did it. Maybe it was just cross country. So I went to like a midnight cross country practice, go back to the studio, put all this stuff together. It's 3 a.m. I'm sleeping in my office because, I'm going to have to be on the air in 3 hours. So a couple times for weather, couple times for just because I was stupid. Give them an inch and they take a mile. Blonde tips. Max, that is why we won't move those serving window tables. That's his inch. There you go. Porter and I watched the Red Sox 30 for 30 about their ALCS comeback. A lot of blonde top ball players in 04. Prime blonde tip era of white men. Yeah. That was around. And I think it really started in the like late 90s. But I think it was like mainstream by the early 2000s. I think I still had, because I've got pictures. I would say 04, 05 was my like prime blonde tip era, because 05 I still had blonde tips because my pictures of my high school, we had we have reunions every 5 years. My 5-year reunion, blonde tip bow was still in action. Philly Joe, good morning. Zach says, can you give LRS and Uncle Rich access to your channel during your off time? Open format show with call-ins. Just an idea. Herman says, backed for my daughter's dance competition national tour, spending the next week on 3 different beaches. That doesn't sound too bad at all. Mikey says, what are we going to do without you going live each morning for 15 days? Fortunately, there's more than 1,200 old episodes you can watch. So just go to the archives. Over 1,200 episodes. So that'll scratch your itch. Can we shop your store while you're away, or will it be closed? It'll be open. Store will be open. I'll have the vacation message. And just depending on my sales, which every time I've put the away message, my sales have like been suppressed over my normal, average sales per day, 120. But it seems like when my away message is on, it suppresses those sales down to like a manageable. So instead of 120 a day, if I'm gone for a week, it's like 25 a day. And so I come back to 120. It's been wacky. Every time I've done it, it's fallen in line with that. Just crazy. So yeah. And so I always plan on, it's going to be open. There's going to be an away message. So, obviously it's not going to ship until I return. If I get, if it's day 3 and I'm over 300, I'll probably stop it. I'm going to get it down to 0 before we leave. Once it gets to 300 to 400, probably 400, I'll cap it. We'll call it, and then I'll just close my store down and then ship when I get back. So that is the plan. Jody, good morning. Packed. Kyle says, could we get a Hobby Evolution guest host while you're European? Morning ain't going to be right. I know. Just watch repeats. Just watch repeats. Let's see. Zach wants to know, how old is your daughter competing? 15, youngest. Yes, she's the baby. John says, did you pay sticker? Oh, I don't know what this is in reference to. Mark says, loved the photo of Porter ripping packs with his friends. I love that photo. Was awesome because it took me back to that same age. Orlando says, Mark, thanks for sharing your awesome collection on Hobby Palooza. Oh yeah, Hobby Palooza was yesterday. Saw Orlando had a video on there. Might check that out. Who's watching Biscuit while you're checking your secret bank accounts in Switzerland? So my mom and her friend are coming up the day before we leave. And so we'll give them the routine and the medication and all the vet info. Biscuit's been doing great this week. Once we increase the medication, she's been her normal self, which is awesome. So my mom and her friend are coming up for a week, and then they'll go back home. And then my mother-in-law and her friend will come stay at our house for the second week. So we didn't want to typically, in the past, my mom's come and house sit, dog sit for whatever time. And if she can't, or when she leaves, then my mother-in-law will pick her up and take her to her house. But we didn't want to upset the apple cart and add stress to her. So that's why mother-in-law is staying at our house, which is putting my wife in a frenzy. Last night, my wife is cleaning out the pantry, and which is not like, I mean, she's a clean freak, but usually she does it when she's stressed out. And so she's like, do you want these Cinnamon Toast Crunch? And I'm like, no. Do you want these Strawberry Cheerios? No. And so I'm like, are you stressed? And she's like, no, I just need to clean. And I'm like, well, usually you need to clean when you're stressed. And she's like, well, my mother's staying here and she's going to complain about how dirty this house is. And it's like immaculate, except for the basement. The basement's not. And I'm like, okay. So she is stressed. She's just stressed about her mom staying at our house, and her mom there can be a picture on the wall that is like perfect. And she'll be like, no, it's there. It's like, how the fuck do you see that? And she will do that with like, there's a little speck of dust on your counter. So my wife is stressed out about the notorious MIL staying and complaining about how dirty and messy the house is. Spam Likely, what's up? Zach says, thanks to Mark, we weren't going to have him open anything, but the crowd was restless. 14 kids transported to a Nerf gun battle. I drove 7 soon-to-be 6th graders. Chaotic. Can only imagine. Mark says, I nominate John Keating as guest host of Hobby Evolution while Bo is away. John says, me, Jan. We've been through this. Mian? Oh, Felix. Felix Milan. I like Milan. IL equals Y in Spanish. Okay. John says, reading the chat, I think Zach is attempting an arranged marriage for Zach. John says, imagine those suckers opening the repacks when they got home and checking the comps on Bo Diaz cards. Dude better not sit near any windows in that house today. I'm repacking the rack of ribs I had for dinner last night. Brian says, I really upset 70s Card Show. I hope he's going to be all right. That is John. He just wants to beat you up. Cooter, good morning. Got busy working on the garden and missed the first 30. How's your garden doing? I picked my pepper. It was taller than the plant itself, so that'll give it room to grow. I checked it right before the storm last night, and I've got some cuke fruits forming. I've got some little tomato fruits forming. The bunnies have attached themselves to the peas, so I am no longer have peas, nor do I have lettuce. So I'm feeding the wildlife, which at this point I'm like, fine. As long as they don't fuck with my cucumbers and tomatoes, I'm cool. But don't fuck with those. You can piss around with my lettuce, piss around with my peas, because I was able to eat some peas anyway. Never got any lettuce. Celery still coming along. They eat the like leafy part of the celery, which is cool because you don't eat that anyway. So have at it. John says, are swatches cheaper over there? Probably not. But I'll check it out. I don't even know what swatch runs here. I'm not a watch guy. I don't care about watches. I find them uncomfortable. Is it your mom's special friend? No. It's not her special friend. It's her girlfriend. They're like Laverne and Shirley. They go on adventures. So it's Laverne and Shirley coming to stay at the house. Dad Dude from Duryea says, be careful if you get a sub. Never forget Wally Pip. Yeah. Zach says, Cooter, I've never heard it called that before, but I hope you and the missus were both equally satisfied with the gardening. Mother-in-law's man meat. So it is the mother-in-law's special friend, but not my mom's special friend. Mr. Archer, good morning. John says, Cooter finished his gardening before his wife, I'm sure. One Playboy would have settled 14 kids for the entire afternoon. Swatches aren't too bad. Went to the store in New York. Wanted one as a kid. Almost grabbed one. What else do they have over there? Cheese and chocolate. Swatches. What else is? There's something else that I missed. Oh, the Army knives, of course. Are you surprised that I forgot about a Swiss Army knife? I've had some Swiss Army. I mean, when I was a kid, I'm not carrying around a Swiss Army knife. Planted very late. Lots of blooms on tomatoes, watermelon, cantaloupe, and squash. First tomato was picked at by a bird the morning I was going to pick it. Wow, it's coming along fast. If you're already ready to pick tomatoes, but I guess you're a lot further south than I am. So when did you plant, I guess is my question. I planted the week of Mother's Day, which is early for me. Usually I planted about 10, 11 days earlier than normal. Normally I plant a week after Mother's Day. And this year I planted my tomatoes and cucumbers a week before, or the Tuesday of. I think it was a Tuesday of Mother's Day weekend. The Tuesday before. Zach says, Cooter, now I'm confused. You and her wife are into some crazy Oklahoma stuff. That always happens around here, says Cooter. I guess I should be careful about the tomatoes, birds. What kind of birds eat tomatoes? I've never had an issue with birds eating my tomatoes, but now that I'm in a new location, I've got different birds and I've got a lot more birds. We didn't have too many birds, actually. Now that I think about it, we didn't have birds. Now I've got lots of birds. I'm very happy with underneath the bird feeders, and I've been sprinkling bird feed on the ground because there's like grazers like the doves and the robins. And the ducks. So I've got my path down to the water. The ducks take my path up to my bird feeders and eat the bird feed off the ground. I love it. I get so excited. I'm like, ducks. I love the ducks. George Foster was signing at the show I was set up at yesterday. Pretty cool. Nice. Where was that show? The Swedish, or I thought was that Swedish or Swiss? The Swiss bikini team? I thought that was the Swedish bikini team. Maybe the Swiss have one. Christian says, I will volunteer to host the show. We will start off each show with how insufferable the Tigers offense is. So sounds like the Cubs. Why the Tigers hate their fans and name that player will be 1,000 unique Cecil Fielder cards. There you go. Cooter says, I put in starts just after you planted. Aha. Okay. Pterodactyl. They love tomatoes. Also, heavy metal drummer like tomatoes for some reason. Oh, yeah, the neighbor drummer. Terre Haute. Blue Jays are assholes. They ruin lots. Okay, I have not seen, maybe I've seen one Blue Jay here. I rarely see Blue Jays, but maybe if they like tomatoes or other stuff, because I did plant fruit this year. I planted baby watermelons, and I planted cantaloupe and strawberries. And when I planted strawberries at the old house, birds found that and demolished it. So maybe I should get some netting of some sort to keep the birds at bay. Lars likes Napster. Not Lars. He ruined our fun. Great card show yesterday in Madison. Highlight video is up on the channel, so check that out if you haven't already. It's a short one. I'm terrible at taking like content video, and like I'll get bored. Like I'll dig through when I'm not set up. I'll get bored and it's like, now what? It's like, oh, I guess I should probably do some video content and take some pictures. And so I actually was sitting at the bar after the show and putting that video together, which, by the way, We give Max a lot of shit on this show. I want to commend Max, even though he wants to clog the aisles and reduce the show. Was sitting at the bar after the show, waiting for Bronco and East Coast Tom. Actually, I think East Coast Tom and Bronco were already there as well. And there was a kid and his mom sitting at the bar. The kid actually sat at the bar, ordered a chocolate milk with ice. He probably younger than Porter, probably 9-10 years old. And they're looking through the Pokemon binder and like had a good time. It was their first time they'd been to a show. I actually heard that. Now, it wasn't surprising to overhear people say, this is my first show like 2 years ago. But in June of 2024, I'm surprised when I hear it. And I heard it multiple times yesterday. I've never been to a card show before. This is my first show since the 90s. Like, amazing how many times I heard that. So this mom son came, first time to a show, came all the way over from north of Milwaukee. And they were talking about coming to the next show. And so I overheard that, and they're like, well, maybe we can come over and we can stay the night before, and they've got a pool here. And I'm like, we have room rates. I'm like, just, when you make your reservation, just mention you're coming for the card show and there's a room rate. And so they're having a good time. Max comes down and he's talking to us, and the kid's asking him questions and, what are you doing with that? And so Max comes back and gives him like 2, I don't know what they are, packs of Pokemon stuff. The kid was like, best thing ever. And Max said, he's like, I deal with a lot of kids selling Pokemon, and you are one of the brightest and most polite kids that I've encountered doing card shows, which was super cool. The mom loved to hear that. The kid loved to get Pokemon cards. So shout out, dealer of the day. Congrats to Max, going above and beyond, making a kid's day. Super cool. So that was after the show. Very cool. Somebody, like I mentioned earlier, a ton of kids there. I think some of it had to do with the rain, which canceled one of my dealers, the Lambricks. Matt runs the Green Bay show up at the KI. And so his dad, so in the summer months, Matt doesn't, because he's got kids that are playing sports. So usually his dad will run the tables. So I was talking to his dad, Harry, and I'm like, oh, Matt must have sports today. And he's like, well, he was supposed to, but they got canceled. So he's on the way. They're on their way down now. So he was able to come out. So I think there was a, sudden surge of kids because baseball was canceled, soccer, what other, the other outdoors, whatever was outside was canceled. Outside activities likely canceled because of the rain. So great crowd. And I think, and this is where I'm going to go into the third room debate. It was very crowded. A couple people said, this is the best crowd I've seen here. And it's like, it's probably not, especially the last few months, because we've had 3 rooms. We've had, 40 additional tables in that third room. It breaks up the show. I was walking around. I was getting annoyed. I'm the promoter. I'm supposed to love having over 1,000 people come into this monthly card show. But I'm annoyed because there's no room to walk. And when I get to Max, I had to go all the way around because you couldn't get through because there's so many people crowding around his table, which is a good thing, but also a bad thing because sometimes that tends to turn people away, turn people off. When I decided to go from one ballroom and expand downstairs to the second ballroom, I fought it because I didn't want to break up the show. I wanted it to be in one room. But in January of 22, people were leaving because it was 4 or 5 people deep at every single table. It was just so many people, not enough tables. So we had to expand. I expanded to the second ballroom. And then the people that were upstairs were like, oh, it's dead. The show's, I'm like, actually, there's probably the same amount of people this month, but it's just, and then by 10, 11 o'clock, people start coming. Actually, the first couple months, the downstairs room was pretty dead. But then it grew, and now I have more demand from dealers that want to set up in the downstairs room the first 3, 4, 5 months. And some dealers, even today, I don't want to be in that downstairs room. It's like, that's okay. That's good, because I have more people wanting to be down there than I do upstairs. So there's usually more. Now, if it's multi-tables, if it's a one table, I can easily get in. When it's two tables, then it's a little, it's a Tetris putting a puzzle together. So it's okay when people want to be, upstairs. Now I have people wanting to be in that third ballroom, which is great. So when I have demand for all three rooms, like I want to be in this room, I want to be in that room. It's like, okay, there's going to be it's a balancing act, because there's going to be a time where more demand is going to be here or there. A lot of it comes from, I had at least 2 dealers have, most dealer, like every dealer I talked to, and of course I didn't talk to every dealer, but every dealer that gave me an honest opinion of their show, because usually it's just, I did okay. Which those are outliers. I throw those out because that's usually higher expectations. And you didn't reach those high expectations, because when I have high expectations and I realize it, like, I had high expectations and I didn't reach those high expectations. And sometimes you compare it to last month. Last month could have been the best show ever. And then the next month could have been normally a great show, the best show ever, but you're comparing it to last month's. So every dealer that I talked to that gave me pretty much an honest review of their day said it was one of the best shows. And I had a couple dealers at the beginning of the show said, I'm probably not going to set up next month, or I'm probably done for shows for a while. I'm just not moving what I thought. And then by the end of the show, their mind was changed, and they're like, so I've changed my mind. I think I had one dealer who was going to skip July and August and then reconvene for September. And he came up to me at the end of the show and he goes, if I change my mind, can I get back in for next month? I'm like, yeah, absolutely. So that's funny. And I had an honest conversation with one of my dealers who does, in his stuff, his inventory is, and he does pre-war and awesome vintage, just awesome showcases. But for a monthly show in Madison, Wisconsin, yeah, he does well most months. But he would just kill it at the Chicago Sports Spectacular, at the National, in shows like that, at Strongsville, at Chantilly, Philly. The Philly show's a good vintage show. Like at those type of shows, he would kill it. But at the same time, it's like, well, how much is the expense to get there, to stay there? It's multiple days. But I still think it would be, because we talked about some other like regional shows, and I'm like, to be honest, I don't want to poo-poo other shows, but I think this is probably your best bet unless you step up to a multi-day established show, Chicago, and your vintage shows. So July 20th is the next Madison Card Show. I expect July 20th to be even bigger than what we had yesterday, because it's the week before the National. I hear a few people say people don't buy in the summer because they're saving their money for the National. And I know some people do that, but the amount of people that go to the National, and I think there's this bias, this personal bias of people that go to the National that think it's the end all be all. And it's not. Like less than 1% of consumers of trading cards are going to the National. And then you take a fraction of that are actually saving their money to do so. Because I would say a majority of people that go to the National are loading up to take stuff there. And maybe it's more 50-50. Maybe it's not a majority, but at least in what I see at my shows and what I've seen the last couple of years at my shows and other shows that I've been in June and July before the National, people are loading up, spending money, buying cards because they want to take it to the National. And that's why the July show and why I have it every year before the National. I get a couple dealers that they're because they're dealers at the National. They're like, it's too quick of a turnaround because I'm leaving on Sunday or I'm leaving on Monday. I don't want to do a show and then have to turn around, travel to do the National. So, I get that. But I only have a couple that do that. Now, I had more so when the show was in Atlantic City because the travel was more exhaustive than Cleveland or Chicago from where my location in Madison is. And I don't think I think maybe one or two dealers that are going to the National said, I'm not going to do it because I've got the National. So for the most part, they come and they get excited because they're going to make a lot of money because people will be buying. There's going to be a lot of money in the room, being spent so people can take it to Cleveland, to the National. Where are we at? Zach says we get some Blue Jays here. Blue Jays are assholes, so I'm glad I don't get them. You should repack your unwanted fruit and list it. That dude from Duryea, I was wrong, but I was interested in the anatomy part of that team, not the geography part. LOL. Cooter says, my dad would pay me $0.25 for every Blue Jay I took out as a kid. My junk wax was bought with blood money. Zach says, another massive landscaping project at our house started Friday. Hard and softscape. Birds and animals will be out of control finding new homes. Uh-oh. Zach says, East Coast Tom, solid human. East Coast Tom. Yep. We hung out our monthly ritual with Bronco, baseball card illustrated on the YouTube. We have, I just had an appetizer because I thought we were going to do dinner last night. But obviously the tornadoes kept us from Chinese. Zach says, I don't even need to hear this full story to think that Max had eyes on the mom. That could be. Maybe. You never know. John says, observing Ramadan rules on the East Coast. Nothing happens outside sunup to sundown due to the heat storm. Zach says, wanted to do some gardening. Orlando says, shout out to Max. Cooter says, has the mom never heard of stranger danger? John says, exactly how I got hooked on blow when I was 20. Dealer gave me a taste. Great marketing. Cooter says, glad your show was good. The OKC show sucked. That's terrible. I'm surprised by it. Most shows that I've heard about are just like booming. So I'm surprised to hear that a show sucked. Now I've heard like some of the fly-by-night shows I've heard are, and maybe they're not regular shows, not established. I've heard some of those suck. I've heard feedback that, yeah, this show sucked. But for the most part, like established shows, monthly shows, all of them that I've heard about have been just phenomenal lately. Like Ernie McCracken helping single moms. Max gets it. Brian says, I want to try and attend the July Madison show. I don't think I'll have enough hobby funds saved up. August might be more realistic. Well, if you can't make July 20th, August 24th, spend some of that rummage sale money, man. Come on. Max is smart. If you marry someone with a kid, you don't have to worry about the pesky deductibles that go with the whole child birthing thing. I guess there isn't as much money in repacking shit cards as we all thought. Oh. John. Cooter says, I'm already shopping for repacks to put in Keating's Secret Santa. That's fun. Sold my old homebrew kit. Dan's in the house. What's up? Brian says, was not looking forward to move all that equipment back into the house. That's what I say when I take my quarter boxes to every card show. Nah, I don't want to take these home. Bargain Boxer. Short story before you go. I was set up at a show yesterday. A kid, 12, 13, walked up, grabbed some cards and asked, how much? I said, whatever you feel like paying. He said, $40. I said, sure. He paid, walked away, came back 15 later and said, Dad said I got a bad deal and I need you to give me money back. The kid gave me a price and I accepted. What should I have done? What would Bo do? I mean, it's tough. I mean, since it's a kid, I would have just gave the money. Take the cards back, give the money back. It's just a shitty situation. Since it was a kid, if it was an adult, I'd be tough shit, man. Maybe I wouldn't have done that, but I would have just taken it back. It sucks, but it's a kid. Red lights in the house. Good morning. Good morning, Uncle Rich. Red light says, what is the name of the hotel where the card show is? It's the Sheraton Hotel on John Nolen Drive. Take a drink. Where are we at? Rich says he is under 18. You are legally required to give him back your money. Mikey says, does anyone want to come to my card show in October in Peru? Bargain Boxer says, what parent does that to his kid? The kid needs to learn. I know it sucks. I wish it sucks that did the kid just come back on his own? That's what really sucks. I mean, the dad should have been like, hey, this isn't a good deal. Dan wants to know, is that really law? It probably is, but is it enforced? I don't think it's going to be enforced. And what that hard is, at any time you have to return the money. Minors do have the right to return their purchases and get their money back. It's just a shitty situation. I didn't buy much. Here's the thing. I was, so when I've adjusted in the last 7 days, I have adjusted my buying strategy a little bit. I'm on the lookout more for vintage, but I'm not full bore into vintage. I'm expanding my horizons. So I had an opportunity on some vintage yesterday. I have a dealer. I have a dealer that loves to bulk out. And he's actually he sets up with my vintage guy downstairs, Greg. And he's in the back corner. And this month he had, and I think he got it from Greg, a bunch of vintage, basically a lot of the same stuff, similar stuff that what I picked up last weekend at the estate sale. And I saw like a 68 Topps Johnny Unitas. And I'm going through, and there's a lot of like stars and Hall of Famers. Nothing big. He had, I think, $600 on the football box. There was like a 1 row, like a 600 count box, and then there was a 4 row. In the 4 row, like half of it was top loaded, like 1 row of Jonathan Taylor rookies, which I'm like, a bunch of like autographs that would go in a dollar box for what I would put in a dollar box. No name autos. And then a couple rows more of more vintage. And it was basically, it stretched from like 1968 to 1986. A lot of good stuff. Some of it was pretty banged up. There were a lot of commons and not in good shape. Basically quarter box fodder in my eyes, what I would do with it. So he negotiated against himself and got down to a price where it's just like, no, I can't. I'm not going to do that. But I was interested and I kept coming back. I probably went back 4 times and I saw he had baseball. The first couple times I didn't see baseball. He had baseball and there was some good stuff in the baseball box. I'm like, okay. So he ends up offering me a deal for like all the football, all the baseball for like $400, which any other time I would have taken, yes, here's the money. Would have taken it immediately. But based on what I bought in the last week, not only 13,000 vintage from the estate sale, 50 or 60,000 modern that I picked up on Wednesday night, The singles club, I'm buying 50,000 plus refractors and serial numbers in about a month from Chris on his way to the National. So I've just got in between, I'm going to be in Europe for 2 weeks. I'm going to be at Club 400 in a couple days. So I just, I've spent a decent chunk of money, and it's time to now. The estate sale, I've already made my money back, and I'm already in the profit. Less than a week later, I've already made a profit on what I picked up, and I still have 13,000 cards to list. So I ended up passing on it, but I kept thinking on it. I went back down like a fourth time, and I'm like, should I do it? I mean, for $400, plenty of cash on me. I can't. It's perfect to let it. I mean, it's all vintage for the most part. I can just let it sit. There's no hurry. In a few months, when winter hits, I can do something with it. So I'm like, maybe I'll buy it. And a guy was packing it all up, so he got a deal. So, but at the end of the day, I'm like, I'm okay with that. It was a good deal, but it wasn't a great deal. It was a good deal, not a great deal. It would have taken me quite a bit of time. There were some $5 and $10 cards in there, but a lot of stuff would just go into quarter boxes, dollar boxes. Some of the stuff would be $1.50 cards on eBay. So at the end of the day, I'm happy. I'll use that 400 as part of my next purchase with the singles club next month. So I did submit for the first time ever. I have made a PSA submission for the first time ever. I have submitted cards for grading that are not that will not be part of my PC. First time. So I submitted the Walter Payton rookie, the Dr. J Julius Erving rookie. I submitted a George Brett rookie. I submitted the 1974 Topps Nolan Ryan. And then I submitted the 2007 Topps Chrome Blue Refractor Justin Verlander, which was just, wow, this was in there. So 5 cards. I did the, it's only $40 for like the fast PSA for like, not like super fast, but like faster than normal. So I did submit the vintage. I submitted the 4 vintage, the faster rate at $40 a pop. Which is probably, on the Brett and the Ryan was probably not smart, but I think the Peyton and maybe the Dr. J just to get those back. Oh shit, Dan, I do need to submit the Triple H ticket. That's a good idea. Next month I'll do that. So I did submit those 5 cards. We'll see. We'll see what they do. It's also a good practice for me to like, I know, okay, looking over, this will give me an idea firsthand, not just looking at cards like, oh, okay, this is an 8, this is 7, certainly not looking at photos on the internet. Like now it'll give me a little more understanding of what is what when it comes to vintage. So I'm looking forward to that. It was almost impatience, especially the Peyton. It's like, I want this back fast. I want to see what it's going to get. Most people were saying, based on photos online, were saying it's a 7 or 8, basically like 50-50. Half the people said 7, half the people said 8. Obviously, I want an 8. I would love a 9. But I think that's not going to happen. So I think I'll be okay with a 7. I'll be happy with an 8. I'll be okay with a 7, but like a little disappointed. And if it's a 6, I'll be like pissed. If it's a 6, I'll be, damn it. But live and learn. And I think this is the best way to do it. Just do it. So I did it. So I submitted those 5 cards to PSA. Dan brings up, I do have, so I have a ticket stub that I was at. It's in terrible shape. So it's basically, I just want to get it slabbed for authentication. It is the WWF debut of Triple H. It was a Superstars taping at the Mark of the Quad Cities, Moline, Illinois, back in April of 1995. You can watch the video on YouTube. You can actually, on the video on YouTube, you can actually see me, because I was in like the 5th or 6th row on the hard cam side. So you can actually see me at the end of each match. My friend Luke and I, my mom took Luke and I, we were only, 12, 13 years old, 13. And at the end of each match, because we were 5th or 6th row and we were kind of close to the aisleway where they came in. And so after each match, we would get up and run so we could like slap the wrestlers, hands, like give them a high five and all that stuff, or boo the bad guys. And so you can see me. I'm wearing a UMass basketball jersey, Lou Rowe, number 15. And you can see me at the very end of the match. You can see me stand up and you can see my UMass jersey. WWF Superstars from April of 1995. So I still have that ticket stub. It's in awful shape. It's basically I just want to get it slabbed for authentication, nothing else, because it'd be like a -1, PSA -1, because it's in such bad shape. Let's go to the chat. Bargain Boxer did give the kid his money back, of course. Charlie's in the house. What's up? Listing and shipping and Voffy. Ooh, Voffy. That sounds exotic. Looks like Madison was a party. We had a great show. Great show. Cooter says, question is, was the kid overpaying and did you know it? I've seen dealers in the same case lower the price if they think it's too much. Back in the day, I actually had a couple of group of kids came to my show as a birthday present. When the parent called me, I said, that's fine. I'll let them in for free, but there must be an adult present in case of a big purchase. Both times, the adult was there, the kids were happy, and it was fine. Zach says, I would have tried to educate the kid. Brian says, to John, 20 cards for $1. I'm not packing Bobby Witt Jr. autos. Repacks aren't for you. The kids and parents love them, and that's all that matters. I mean, I hope John's just troll. Like in all honesty, I really hope John is trolling and not serious. $1 for 20 cards. And I'm sure Brian's putting like some stars in there. Like, sure, there's not going to be a Bobby Witt auto in there. But I'm sure it's not all 89 Topps Bo Diaz cards either. Kyle says, where was the kid's dad during the initial transaction? Right. If I was going to be critical of my kids purchasing, I would be right next to them the whole time. That's a great point. Orlando says, Bo set a new standard with the estate sale deal. All others are just okay. That's a good point. That's a good point. Let's see. Oh, we talked about that. Mikey says, I came around to submitting to PSA. I did. And I am going to submit my own superfractor will be submitted to PSA at some point, whether it's I guess the Dallas Card Show, because I think I'm gonna make this plan. So Cooter, clear your calendar. I'm coming to OKC and picking your ass up. We're going to Dallas. Dan says not submitting is not smart. Non-special ticket stubs might cost up to $30, but still worth it for that stub. And I agree. Brian says if it's a 6, crack and resubmit to SGC, they will give a 10. Cooter says today is the second day of Hobby Palooza. At a minimum, do yourself a favor and watch Orlando and Mike Petty's episode as well as the episode Mark Hoyle appeared on. Yes, I did see. I went to because I did watch Hobby Hotline this morning from yesterday's Palooza. And I did see when I went to the videos, I saw Orlando on there. So I'm going to watch that video and I'll get the Mark Hoyle one. Watch that one too. Cooter says, couch people setting the bar. Uncle Rich says, I will be skipping Hobby Palooza since I don't know when people are on with the sked. Cooter says, I've already told the missus to have the guest house stocked with mushroom coffee. Orlando says, thank you, Cooter. It was a fun hour with Petty. Showed my Anson. Ooh, Anson. Now you're first on the queue. Rich says, except for Keating's show, which I would watch if he is on before 4 o'clock Eastern. Oh, I'll have to tune into that too. Today's like all shipping, so I can definitely partake in viewing today. Alrighty, so that's going to wrap it up for today. Great show at the Madison Sheraton Hotel on John Nolen Drive yesterday. We'll run it back for July 20th. Sheraton Hotel, John Nolen Drive. Free admission 9 to 3 are the hours. 175 tables. We'll have all 3 ballrooms open up for July and August and probably the rest of the year. So come see us July 20th, Sheraton Hotel, John Nolen Drive for the Madison Card Show. Visit my eBay store, 99centcards.com. Buy 7 or more at regular price. You'll save 25% off at checkout. I had a magnificent eBay sales day. Usually when I'm at a card show, and I know this is very anecdotal, I haven't like actually run the numbers, but it just seems when I'm at a card show, my eBay sales numbers are pitiful. That was not the case yesterday. My eBay sales crushed it. So I had an awesome sales day yesterday, and it wasn't, I sold some of the vintage, but it was a wide variety of stuff. Vintage, other stuff. So a great sales day, and hopefully we have, since it's Sunday, we'll have another great sales day. And I do want to make some time to get some more vintage added, since I have a plethora. That's one of my favorite words, plethora. I have a plethora to list. So check it out, 99centcards.com. Buy 7 or more at regular price and save 25% off at checkout. Another thing that I had a phenomenal sales day. I am curious because the last couple months at the Madison Card Show, I've been putting I've got a sign, 99centcards.com, over 100,000 singles in my eBay store. And I put that right at the entrance of the upstairs ballroom because I'm a show sponsor. And 99centcards.com sponsoring the Madison Card Show. And it's been on the Facebook ad, but more so the Saturday of the show, I have that sign. And I've had really good sales on Madison Card Show days. And I wonder if there's a correlation. And I can pretty easily check based on, I can't tell for certain if this person was at the show or not. But I had a sale early last month in the morning, and the buyer was from like Sun Prairie, which is a suburb of Madison on the other side of town. And I wonder if that was and it was a big sale. It was like a $70 sale, which is a big sale for, when you mainly sell $1.50 cards in one transaction. So I am curious. And so I guess when I start shipping Saturday's orders, I'll kind of have an idea and see, okay. But there's also a lot of customers that come in from Iowa, Minnesota, Indiana. So we had baseball card exchange in the house again yesterday. So thanks to Billy and Jake, I think is his travel partner from BBCE. So they were in the house. We had real breaks, Badger breaks. So a lot of good stuff at the Madison Card Show. Come out and see us next month. Let's see. Rich says, normally I don't go back and see what I missed, but got to hear about Max and the Missus. A cornucopia of vintage. I like it. A cornucopia of vintage. So thanks for tuning in. Have a wonderful Sunday. We'll run this back tomorrow morning. I've been saying run it back a lot. Tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. Central, but we won't run Hobby Evolution on Tuesday or Wednesday. I'll be at the 1984 Cubs reunion, hanging out with hopefully Ryan Sandberg, but also Bobby Dernier, Leon Durham, and Jody Davis, Uncle Chuck Rainey. Who else is going to be there? Rich Bordy, Warren Brewstar, Gary Matthews, Sarge, Marla Collins, the ball girl from the mid-'80s. She will be at the Club 400 1984 Cubs reunion as well. I still haven't decided what I'm going to take for like autographs, because a few of the guys I don't have baseball signed, but I'm getting to a point where I don't want any more signed baseballs unless it's like a star or a top prospect. And I've got most of those guys. I have balls. That's what she said. I have baseballs signed by most of those guys. It would be kind of cool to get Marla Collins on a ball. So we'll see. I thought about doing like a rookie card run since there's going to be so many of them. Like I can hammer out a bunch in one place. I don't know. We'll see. I've got a day and a half to figure this out. Alrighty. Now I'm going to wrap it up. Hit the like button if you haven't already. Subscribe to the channel. Hit up 99centcards.com. Cooter says have them sign their 84 tops. That's for 84 or 85 because some of them don't have an 84 Cubs card. Dan says, sorry, but you got to keep the ball wall going. I don't have any more space I want to add. I did expand to 2 additional cabinets when we moved to this house on the wall. There's 2 additional cabinets, 2 more than what I had at the old house, but I don't want any more. I don't want any more. So I'm just going to replace, some of the players that are in there. Once I'll just move them up. I thought about, I have a huge storage tub of like minor league autos and prospect autos that I might just throw on eBay for $10, $15 a pop, depending on the player. So that's a possibility. That could be a winter project when I've got more time. We'll see. All right. Now I'm going to end it. Bink, what's going on? Just in time to sign off. Dan says, I think you'd regret not getting them if you can. I think I definitely will. The guys that I don't have, maybe I will on a ball. I don't know. We'll see. I'll sleep on it. All right. Like, subscribe, visit my eBay store. Have a great Sunday. Tune into Hobby Palooza. It's on the 4 Collectors channel, I think. So check out, if you can't find it, search Hobby Palooza. I think there's programming throughout the day. So we'll do this again tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. Central. See you then.